Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Goodbye, Hurt and Pain by Deborah Sandella, Ph.D., R.N. Narrated by Virginia Woolf. Forward. Having spent time working as a school teacher, teacher trainer, psychotherapist, success coach, and human potential trainer, I have witnessed the immense influence that feelings have on a person's performance and mood. From the first time Deborah Sandella, Dr. Deb as her students call her, introduced me to her RIM work. RIM stands for Regenerating Images in Memory. I saw its powerful potential to create immediate and dramatic physical and behavioral changes in people. And I have continued to witness this time after time, year after year, as she and her facilitators work with my students. Having known and worked with Deb for over 11 years, first as my student and later as my friend and co-author, I'm delighted to introduce her new book to you. Every once in a while, you listen to a book that has a profound personal impact on you. This book will do that. It is written from the heart in a down-to-earth way that will touch you intimately and probably change your life. Deb's passion and pioneering spirit have led to her discoveries of how to help people more easily uncover that place within us that knows the answers to every one of our deepest questions. Her commitment to continually expand her understanding of the natural, self-healing mechanisms operating in us has resulted in this wonderful and profound book. Goodbye, Hurt and Pain will introduce you to 7 powerful discoveries of how to master your feelings, and when you consistently apply them, you can expect to live a dynamic life of ever-expanding success and happiness. In fact, because this work produces such immediate and extraordinary emotional and physical results, it may at first appear unbelievable, but I have witnessed it in action in my own life and the lives of hundreds of my students and trainees and can testify to its profound impact. I've come to respect Dr. Deb's quiet power as she courageously walks clients through the darkness of their most devastating and painful memories and into the light of new confidence, emotional freedom, and personal power. She consistently affirms and awakens in them their innate resourcefulness. In person, you can see and feel it in her energetic presence and gaze. Now you have the opportunity to feel it through her writing. As you listen to this book, I encourage you to dive headfirst into the practice-it-yourself activities. I promise you that the rewards will be well worth it. You will move beyond what you've previously thought possible. All you have to do is follow the step-by-step process that Dr. Deb leads you through, and you'll see your life growing more successful and fulfilling every day. To your success, Jack Canfield, CEO of the Canfield Training Group, co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, co-author of the Success Principles, internationally renowned corporate trainer, keynote speaker, and popular radio and TV talk show guest. Introduction. The phone rings and I sleepily pick up the receiver. It feels like a dream as I hear my brother's heavy words. Dad suffered a cardiac arrest and he's in the ICU. He's received every possible drug, but his blood pressure isn't holding. The nurses feel he can't survive the night, so they've requested a do not resuscitate agreement. In my mind, I hear myself reacting to the nurses. How can you even ask that question? You have no idea who this man is, how special he is to his whole community. In this moment, something snaps, and I say, no, I won't agree. Having started my career as a nurse, my response is completely out of character, but an intuitive process is taking over. As I walk back to bed, I'm visited by a spontaneous vision. I see my dad with his back to me as he walks off toward the horizon. I'm there, angrily yelling, I'm so mad at you for leaving. I'm not ready for you to go. I have so many more things I want us to share. To my complete surprise, he pauses and turns to face me. His countenance is radiant with a gentle expression I've never seen before when he says in a kind voice, I didn't know you felt that way. Okay. As my body senses his words, the anger instantly drains away and I feel like a wet noodle. At the same time, my logical mind remarks with a statement and question, all this is just in my head, right? As I climb back into bed, I feel an urging to keep his image in my awareness, like an earthly lifeline to his spirit. The next day, I fly to rural Kansas and walk into ICU. The nursing staff report, sometime in the middle of the night, your dad's blood pressure began to hold. Encouraged, I sit at his bedside over several nights. I am compelled to imagine the inside of his unconscious body. His lungs appear foggy gray with darker, heavy guck at the bottom. Feeling I would do anything to help him survive, I shed my professional academic image and begin to experiment. Initially, I imagine him breathing in clean, fresh air and exhaling gray darkness. This seems to lighten it a bit, but I can tell it is fatiguing him, so I stop. Next, I begin breathing for him. I imagine fresh air filling his lungs, displacing the heavy grayness which is displaced with each exhale. I become the breather as he lies relaxed and unconscious in his hospital bed. Gradually, in my mind's eye, I see his lungs fill with bright blue sky, and the grayness is gone except for a small black spot at the base of his lungs. No matter how hard I try, it remains. The next morning, the pulmonologist visits and says Dad's lungs actually look good, except for a bit of aspirated solid material at the base. Fortunately, the doctor can mechanically remove the material with a bronchoscope. Although Dad's oxygen levels return to normal after the procedure, the doctor cautions us against false optimism. I wouldn't get your hopes up. Your dad's brain was without oxygen for a long time, and he's probably suffered brain damage. Ignoring his caution, I feel encouraged that my intuitive sensing has been accurate, and I begin imagining Dad's vital brain. The epilogue to my dad's story is that he did survive and, to the complete surprise of the hospital staff, returned with normal mental capacity. He lived 5 more vibrant years, a time he and my mom said were the best of their lives. We had a second chance and we took it. The results were extraordinary. As a doctoral-level healthcare professional who had done research and taught at the University of Colorado, I could not make sense of this experience. It just didn't compute. It defied everything I had learned about medicine. Yet these imagined experiences were more important to me than all of my numerous years of education, and I committed to understanding how to harness this remarkable power for intentional, emotional, and physical healing. 20 years later, I've learned that imagination is an extraordinary resource within each of us, with powers not found in our ordinary thought processes. It is our birthright, and so simple that we tend to dismiss it too easily, as if it were child's play. Yet, the extraordinary emotional and physical results I have witnessed speak for themselves. The RIM method and this book are the culmination of this journey. Dynamics between feelings, the body, and imagination. Since the dawn of human time, we have been scared of undesirable feelings. The story of Adam and Eve demonstrates how acting on one's feelings leads to dangerous outcomes. Socrates and Aristotle wrote revered philosophy on how we should cultivate an independent personality, never lowering ourselves to the emotions of anger and lust. Somewhere along the way, we came to think that our feelings were in need of policing to assure our acceptance as virtuous people. We don't like negative feelings because they are emotionally and physically uncomfortable. This instinct isn't wrong. Recent research shows negative feelings that become chronic can impact our health. Susan Everson Rose, an associate professor of medicine at the University of Minnesota, along with her associates, found that depression raised the risk of stroke or mini-stroke by 86%, chronic stress increased it 59%, while hostility doubled the risk. These findings for the 7,000 adult ages 45 to 84 in the study remain constant over 8.5 years, even when age, race, sex, health behaviors, and other known risk factors were taken into account. At the start, none of the subjects had experienced a stroke or mini-stroke. The authors conclude that if we want to prevent strokes, we need to pay attention to stress and emotions and how they affect us. Similarly, Emory University researchers reviewed 3,200 coronary angiography patients and found that women under 55 with depression had twice the risk of dying from a heart condition or experiencing a heart attack. The American Institute of Stress, which reviews stress research, estimates that stress-related and stress-induced illnesses account for 75 to 90% of the 1 billion visits Americans make to the doctor annually. And Madhu Kalya from Thomas Jefferson University suggests that disabilities caused by stress are just as great as the disabilities caused by workplace accidents or other common medical conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, and arthritis. What are we to do? Feelings have a spontaneous life of their own, and if painful ones become chronic, they cause emotional and physical suffering and harm. In 1995, Daniel Goleman's groundbreaking book, Emotional Intelligence, Why Can It Matter More Than IQ?, established the radical importance of emotions. He showed how feeling frequently trumps thinking as an automatic response to life. This bias develops because the emotional brain existed long before the rational brain, quote, which gives evolved emotional centers immense power to influence the functioning of the rest of the brain, including its centers for thought, unquote. Furthermore, the emotional part of the brain learns in a different way from the logical part. Success or failure in your work and relationships is dependent on how you manage your feelings. The trouble is, precious few of us stop to think about what we're feeling. Our attention is drawn instead to activity around us, while our unnoticed inner state initiates most of our behavior. In other words, our reflexive reactions are largely motivated by feelings to which we pay little attention. This is not a recipe for success. If I were to ask you, what are you feeling right now, would you know? Unless you're in the middle of an emotional event, chances are your answer would be, I have no idea. Roget's thesaurus includes more than 3,000 words related to emotion, yet most of us are intimidated by our personal psychology because it's invisible and uncontrollable. So we avoid thinking about how we feel, while at the same time we can't stop thinking about how we feel. That's quite an interesting paradox. So how do we begin to bring our feelings into our conscious awareness? And then how do we allow them to evaporate? You'll find the answers in this book. Mind to matter. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by uncomfortable emotions, as if they've consumed you? Everyone has experienced this at some time or another. Because feelings are perceived as unseen and uncontrollable, they can seem like scary ghosts chasing us no matter how much we want them gone. Yet when we give form to our feelings, they suddenly have boundaries. When emotions are measurable, the mind accepts them rather than ignoring them. What is the color of love? How heavy is sadness? What is the size of anger or the density of pain? Goodbye Hurt and Pain will help you imagine the form and function of your feelings by looking through an organic lens. Mother Nature is a great teacher with the awe-inspiring workings of the universe. We, too, are created with life's inherent sense of order and urge to thrive. Since our bodies are a reflection of nature, we can use the natural world as a metaphor to solve our problems. As early as 1452, men studied birds closely in order to understand flight. The Wright brothers gained insight from observing pigeons when designing the first airplane. This concept is now a scientific discipline called biomimicry, which comes from the Greek words bios, for life, and mimesis, to imitate. Similarly, Goodbye Hurt and Pain uses nature as metaphor to comprehend emotions better. Physics is one of the oldest explored natural sciences. The study of matter and its motion through space and time, along with related concepts of energy and force. In general, physics helps us understand how the universe behaves. Goodbye Hurt and Pain uses processes in physics as metaphors to give shape and movement to invisible emotions, similar to the way scientists imagined invisible forces like gravity, electricity, and electromagnetism even before their existence was proven. As feelings take form, the rational brain engages with matters of the heart, and our emotions become manageable in ways we've not considered until now. Emotions predictably expand and contract, and throughout this book, we'll look at how taming big, uncomfortable, invisible feelings and memories can help you gain an exhilarating sense of emotional mastery. Once you know how to dial into your feelings, your native emotional intelligence begins to respond much like a self-cleaning oven, problem solver, and success magnet. And results come quickly. You will find yourself resolving deep-rooted problems and manifesting your dreams at speeds as fast as Google search results. Again, the answers originate outside the logical mind. You'll learn how emotions work and how to have yours working effortlessly for you through recent neuroscientific findings and compelling real-life stories. You will also have an opportunity to practice ramping up your own emotional intelligence through practice-it-yourself sections at the end of each chapter. How I Came to These Methods, the Story of RIM. It's 1998, the phone rings, and it's my client Ellie, checking in to see if I've reopened my psychotherapy practice as planned. It's no surprise that she's calling me because her work is unfinished. She's the only client I had referred to another therapist before I left on a family sabbatical to Australia. We talk, and as I hang up, I hear a voice say, "If you go back to doing what you used to do, you'll get sick." I stop in my tracks and wonder, who said that? It definitely wasn't my client, and it certainly wasn't my conscious mind. If this is my intuition speaking, it's a total surprise. I remember that's how true intuition works. It drops in without preceding thought or emotion. This turning point in my career took me places I never expected. Like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, I was setting out on an adventure, moving towards something new and exciting, something I didn't know and to which I was strongly drawn. It turns out I was on a quest to discover an inventive way of working with feelings. And discover it I did. When I began exploring a new way of processing emotions, I set aside expectations of what I believed possible and impossible. Rather, I decided to let clients show their capacities without limits. I have been amazed at the results. In fact, the speed of remarkable change in the real-life stories shared in this book can seem almost too rapid to be believed. I and others have witnessed it time and time again. Their stories lend credence to the immense inner resilience in all of us. This evidence convincingly shows that we have a reliable system capable of processing life's experiences of pain and doubt more quickly and effectively than we previously thought. Our natural curiosity and joy can be felt more easily than we have ever considered. We just need to understand the inner code. For the past 20 years, I've been using the techniques you'll find in this book and training facilitators around the world to use them as well. We have all been continually astonished at how well they work, and how quickly RIM student Steve Torniton received this note from a local real estate agent who had volunteered for a practice session. Quote, "I'm not sure what you did, but I've had 6 properties go under contract since then. About $995,000 of commissions. Thank you, thank you, thank you." End quote. Similarly, another student, Stephanie, did a practice session with her fitness trainer. He was so grateful for his results, he gave her 12 free sessions. The RIM in the RIM method stands for Regenerating Images in Memory, and the real-life stories of client experiences in this book have been guided by myself or certified facilitators I have trained. Although every story is authentic, client identities are protected, and their narratives have been condensed to only the critical moments in their RIM experiences. RIM introduces a new paradigm or novel view of how our emotional system works. Turning away from the idea that painful experiences and feelings fracture or permanently damage you, RIM works on the principle that you have an emotional operating system that organically knows how to deepen positive feelings and dissolve painful ones. Given this inherent internal resourcefulness, the process is client-generated and guided by inner sensation and imagination. The many stories you will hear in this book will grow your conscious and unconscious expectation of what's possible. As your belief expands, greater personal results become possible. You may decide to go on this adventure with a book club. Transformation is easier and more fun when shared. Since RIM is nonlinear, not protocol or logic-driven, your left brain may be frustrated because it's used to knowing what to expect. Although that's how the rational mind works, it's not the nature of the unconscious, which has a mind of its own. To learn more about how RIM works, visit www.goodbyehurtandpain.com. Congratulations! You are on a personal quest to clear hidden, stuck emotion that has been stopping you from having what you want. By listening to this book, you are freeing yourself to have your best life. In this book, you'll learn 7 exhilarating discoveries about your emotions. This self-understanding will change the way you see yourself and the power of your inner resources. The amazing real-life stories will expand your conscious thinking and unconscious beliefs to allow you to trust that saying goodbye to painful feelings and memories is easier than you've ever imagined. You'll learn to trust the organic expiration of frightening feelings, quickly reduce overwhelming emotion to controllable form, unstick uncomfortable feelings, neutralize the magnetic charge of repetitive harmful behavior, find the gift of beauty in ugly feelings, uncover and express the sensation of wholeness throughout your mind and body, reconstitute memory for greater safety and aliveness, renew your emotional equilibrium whenever you need to, master emotions in the blink of an eye. Some of you will use this book to generate empowering changes within yourself. Some will change your lives in ways you didn't think possible. If you wish to be such a listener, set aside your expectations of what's possible. Enter these lessons with an open mind and welcome what you hear as personally attainable. If you find yourself doubting or confused, persevere by engaging in the Practice It Yourself sessions regularly and often. Though I write with intention, your subjective listening has a life of its own. It's yours to experience. Enjoy. Step 1. Flow and go. Your feelings have a natural shelf life. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Albert Einstein. Your intellect may be confused, but your emotions will never lie to you. Roger Ebert. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Khalil Gibran. When you allow the organic flow of feelings, they bring valuable information and naturally expire as you move effortlessly forward. Chris, John, and Nancy show you how it works in these stories. Chris's story, When Emotions Go Underground. Chris is a vital 49-year-old manager. Married with 2 young adult children, she and her husband Rich are filling their empty nest with lots of playfulness. For her birthday, he buys her a beautiful pink mountain bike, and they head to Moab for an exciting adventure. The sun is shining, the trail is wide open, and then it happens. Chris hits a bump and goes flying. Fortunately, her head is protected by her helmet, but her left leg is shattered on impact. Seeing her tibia poking through the ruptured skin causes her and Rich to grow faint, until Rich comes to his senses and calls for emergency help. Thank God there is cell service. At the small hospital nearby, Chris lies on a gurney swimming in anxiety when the doctor appears. "Don't worry, Chris. We'll get you stabilized and then send you to Salt Lake for surgery where they have better resources to repair the complexity of this break." Hearing these words, Chris's anxiety ramps up and her mind races with unanswerable worries. Will I be okay? Will I walk again? Will I have a limp? What's going to happen? If only I had seen that rock on the trail. I can't believe it. Is this really me lying in the ER? Could I be dreaming? As the intensity of her concerns increase, so do her symptoms. Her blood pressure drops and her chest constricts and tightens. She begins to quiver and her breathing stops. Panicked like a swimmer inhaling water rather than oxygen, she feels she is dying. "Help me! Help me! Somebody help me!" she screams silently, feeling like she is in one of those dreams where you try to yell and can't. The ER staff recognizes this is not a panic attack, but something more serious, and quickly treats her for life-threatening anaphylactic shock. As her symptoms recede, she learns she has experienced an allergic reaction to one of the medications. The next day, Chris is taken by ambulance to a medical center in Salt Lake City. Her surgery is successful, and after a few weeks of rehab, she is discharged home. It soon looks like she is healed and back on track, until she returns to her job and quickly slips into severe depression. For no apparent reason, she is unable to work, and her previous enjoyment of life is gone. She goes on antidepressants, yet the depression does not lift. When her husband Rich contacts me for an appointment for Chris, he sounds desperate. It has been months since she's been off work and nothing is helping. In fact, nothing is changing the least bit. As Chris sits with closed eyes, she senses a weird feeling in her stomach. Focusing attention on it, she describes it as a black swirling inside that is trying to suck her in, and she's afraid of disappearing. I ask Chris's imagination to call in an image of someone to be a comforting and safe traveler with her on this journey, and her mother shows up. With Mom, she feels safe to bravely move into the black vortex and ride it around and down to the source. As they swirl downward, Chris begins to feel intense dizziness and nausea. Surrendering to the feeling, she and Mom glide down until they hit bottom in an image of the first ER room where she almost died. Watching herself in the scene, she sees Chris lying on the gurney with a broken leg and eyes frozen wide in terror. Gazing into her own eyes, she begins to cry, even sob. "I thought I was dying. I thought I'd never see my kids again, never again to enjoy the beauty of the mountains and sunshine. I thought it was over. I thought my life was over. If I tried hard enough, maybe I could hold on, but I couldn't. My chest was getting tighter and tighter, and I couldn't breathe. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't force in another breath. I was dying." Moving her attention into this image and bringing her mother with her, Chris hesitantly looks out of these terrified eyes and senses the feeling of dying. She moves into this emotional experience as if it were today, and her awareness sits in it as it organically recedes after a few minutes. Soon there's room for remembering the reality of her physical recovery. Slowly and naturally, the frozen feeling of dying melts, and her appreciation for life returns. The feeling of being stuck in a horrible memory has been brought forward, allowed, and organically released. Life has come back. After this deeply visceral expression of terror, Chris's symptoms of severe depression disappear, and she gradually returns to her job and her life. She finally feels the gratitude for surviving the bike accident she couldn't authentically experience while she was emotionally stuck between life and death. The previously stuck memory has been integrated, and she is present again. Chris's story demonstrates how unprocessed intense emotion goes underground and creates a subconscious block even when the original traumatic event resolves. Furthermore, her journey shows how health can be regained as soon as the original event is integrated into the mind, heart, and body. John's story, welcoming the hidden messages in pain. Rheumatoid arthritis.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?